Right. Welcome to Outside the Search Box with your CCCC librarians. My name is Morgan. I just want to let you know that if you are here today for a class and your instructor has told you that you can get extra credit for participating in this workshop, I will have a form at the end. You'll have to wait till the very end. And at the end, I will share a link and you'll need to complete that form in order to receive credit. If you don't complete the form, you don't get the credit. So be sure to wait until the end, and then I'll send the link out, and then you will get that in the chat. Just fill that form out, and then we will send that information to your instructor. You are welcome to email your instructor personally, but I will also be sending that information out. If you have questions about anything that we talk about today, we are so excited to answer them. Just be sure to put them in the chat and we will save those questions to the end and answer them then. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that Mari can share hers. But if you at any point have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. All right, Mari, you want to go ahead? I'm going to stop sharing now. All right, looks like we can see the screen. That's working great. Thanks, Mari.
All right, so you're able to see my summon screen here.
Yes, it looks great.
Awesome, wonderful. All right, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about Summon today. Summon is our discovery tool that allows users to search the contents of all the library's databases from one search box. Using Summon is the easiest way to see what digital resources are available for your research projects, and that's why we have that box right on the library's homepage. So if you have ever visited our library's homepage and scroll down a little bit, which I'm going to show you in just a minute, you will see a little space where you can type and it says Summon on it. That's what that is. So that is always an excellent place to start. So let's see. Whoops, that was not what I intended. All right, can everyone see our CCCC Library homepage here that I have? I should say College Library on it. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate some cool things with Summon this morning. Again, this is our main research tool. If you want an overview of what resources are available online, it's an excellent place to start. Now, since we're going outside the search box today, I'm not going to go into all the details of keyword searches and how to identify, what we're looking for. If you would like a demonstration on how to create keyword searches, Boolean operators, search strings, we do this a lot. If you are an instructor and would like a class visit, or if you're a student and you would like a one-on-one coaching session, just let us know. We would be so glad to help. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. You can see here this box, and it says Summon. So I'm going to type, just for the purposes of this demonstration, my search string is going to be monarch, butterflies, and migration. Great topic for fall, lots of butterflies coming through, and I'm going to see what comes up for that. So you'll notice by default, this little box down here says full text online, and that's going to be like already checked. We can uncheck it if we want, but for right now, I'm going to leave it checked. What that means is that whatever results come up, you can read the entire thing immediately, the whole article, the whole ebook, whatever, because we have a subscription to that content and we own access. If you don't check that box, you will get a lot more results, but you'll probably only be able to read a tiny bit of it. We will not have access to that full text. It is possible for us to request access if you find something that you really want to use. But just keep in mind that it can often then take us several weeks for those interlibrary loan requests to be fulfilled. So if you're working with a deadline, if you have something due in less than a month, we do recommend having alternative resources just in case that one special one doesn't make it in time. So we're going to leave full text online checked for now, and we're going to click search. And it sometimes takes a moment. All right, so this is the results page, and I've found that pretty much everybody can at least get this far. But this is the point at which most people, if they're going to ask for help, if they're going to come in for a research consultation, they know what they're looking for. They got to the results page, and then this is just completely overwhelming here. There are so many options. Please note, for starters, that we have this chat box over here on the right. It says Ask a CCCC Librarian. This is a live chat. This is us. If you type something in here like, I need help finding articles, that's us. We'll answer. We always have those windows up all day long. We're eager for people to ask us questions and glad to help. There are no stupid questions. So um, let's see, we have 2,310 results for my search string monarch butterflies and migration. It looks like they're pretty much on target. But if we look over here on the left side of the screen, this whole column here, these are options for narrowing things down because odds are your instructor did not want you to find 2,310 results for your project. You probably only needed 5 or 10. So let's see, up here it's going to show us all the things that we've selected. You'll see the little orange selected check mark. And right now the only thing we have selected is full text online. So we're going to leave that there, but if you see that we can always get rid of that if we decide we want to see what is available that's not full text online. So we can exclude things. If we scroll down a little here, it says content type. Newspaper article, journal article, newsletter, magazine article, book. You can scroll down and there's all the different types of resources that Summon is pulling from. So let's say that your instructor does not want you to use newspaper articles. So you can see the little X over here. We're going to exclude this item, and it tells us we're going to be excluding about 1,400 of the results. So that will narrow things down a little. So I'm going to click exclude this item, and I'm going to wait for it to load. All right, so now we've narrowed it down to 940 results. That's less than half of what we had before. So this is starting to get a little more on topic for journal articles. All right, so we can also look at if your instructor put a restriction on what year the article can come from. I know, especially if you're in the science classes, it's got to be 5 years or more current. So I'm going to click down here where it says publication date. You can choose. You can even customize the date range if you're looking for an article from a certain year or a certain decade. I'm going to click 5 years here and see what happens next. So now we've narrowed it down to 276 results. So we're getting closer, and we know that these will all be usable for our project. There are other options where you can narrow it down if you're looking for specifically something from a biology publication or specifically something that has to do with agriculture. You can always choose those, and it will give you even less results. You can see if you're looking for maybe a connection between monarch butterflies, migration, and agriculture, that's going to narrow it down to 7 results. So we might not want to go that far. Further on down, you can also narrow by subject terms and even by language, depending on what topic you're searching. We do have a lot that are in languages other than English. So looking back at our results here, this second one looks very interesting to me. Monarch butterflies only use magnetic cues for migratory directionality. Look at all of these articles here, and you're going to see they're each offering about the same options for what you can do with them. You're going to notice these little icons at the top of each thing. These are extremely useful. So even without clicking on the article, even without looking at what is inside of it, I can get a permanent link to it, and I can email this item to myself. Those are going to be very useful for you in your research project because you probably do not have time to read through 276 separate articles. You're going to see right away that there are some that are more useful or more interesting to you, and you do not want to lose them or forget which ones they are. Let me say again, the permanent link, you are going to need this if you are citing an article. If I wanted to save where these are, I can't just go up here to the search bar and click save that. That's not going to help when I have to create a citation. This will give you a permanent link. It will always lead to this article. You won't lose it. It won't give your instructor, some redirection link or some dead link with nothing in it. Instructors really don't like that. So I can do that and email it to myself if I want to find it later. So let me go ahead and click on the article, and you can see here it gives all the information. It's a journal article, and this one does happen to be peer reviewed. So I'm going to click that and wait for it to load. Now, these are all coming from different databases. Again, Summon is pulling this from many, many different databases that we have access to. So it might look a little different. Each of them will look a little different when you get on the inside. This one happens to come from Gale, one of our Gale databases. And you can see there are already all of these tools again that you can see up at the top. You can download it, you can get the link, you can print it, you can send it to yourself. Let me just say the download button here is one of the most useful tools, because if you download that to your own personal computer or download it and email it to yourself, you will be able to access this without logging into Portal if you're off campus, if you don't have good internet at your house. Once you download that, you can just read it off your computer. You'll always have that copy of it if you need it for some reason. So you can see the whole article is right here. When you scroll down, you'll be able to see there's the entire thing. They sometimes have more references at the end, more useful articles, and any diagrams or anything that you might need. There are a lot of other cool things you can do. I don't want to go too much into detail today. Please do come by the library if you'd like a further demonstration. There are ways that you can highlight things. You can take notes. You can then email those to yourself. So you can get into all of these really helpful tools. And most of the databases do have a feature that will allow you to listen to the article if you prefer listening to gain information. And you can also sometimes increase the font size. So if it's showing up really tiny on your screen, it looks really small on mine. I can increase the font size and make that a larger size for reading. And lastly, there is this little box off on the side here where I can explore more like this. Most of the databases do feature something like this, where it will have studies or articles that are very similar to this one and that might be useful to me in my topic exploration. All right. So I am going to pass it along now to who is next?
I'll be taking over next.
Morgan is
Yeah, I'm so
next.
excited.
All
I can't wait
right.
to talk about homegrown.
So I am going to stop sharing my screen.
So, y'all, I have a question for you. And if you'll use the chat, I'd love to hear your response. But what I want you to tell me, it can be a feeling or it can be an idea. When you're thinking about a local restaurant or business versus like a big chain store, a big chain restaurant, what makes that local restaurant really special? It doesn't have to be a long response, just kind of give me some ideas about what makes a local restaurant a little bit more special than maybe a chain or just something that you could find anywhere. There's only one of them. That's right. Fresh produce, something different, grassroots and cultural, the food. Yep, home cooked feeling. Oh, I like that. It has a unique design and menu, the personal touches, the variety. They cater to customers more. Oh, I like that one. Local ingredients. So it feels a little bit more like you recognize some things. Anything else that makes it special? Yeah, the changing menus, adaptability. Yeah, connections with customers. Oh, I like that one. That's excellent. You know who the owners are and it's part of the community. That's a great one. Yeah, more community involved. Yeah, food quality if it's a local restaurant. It does feel a little bit more like you're connected and it feels like you're a little bit more capable of recognizing some of the things that you see or that you interact with. And so that is kind of the equivalent of homegrown ebooks and the collection we have there. So you can find these homegrown ebooks through Summon, but it can be a little overwhelming. There can be a lot of information there. So I'm going to show you how to use homegrown ebooks and audiobooks to kind of get outside the search box, but will allow you to explore a little bit more locally produced material. So Homegrown eBooks is a database that provides nonfiction and fiction resources that are ebooks and audiobooks. They tend to be from local authors, but they are published by local publishers. So it's a really great information resource for finding scholarly books and materials that are going to have that personal touch, going to be a little bit more community involved, and you might recognize some of the things that you read around you. So when you're searching homegrown, you can search it in very much the exact same way that you would search any other database. So many of the databases will use keywords. If you already know the title, you can search for the title. But what makes them so unique is that they are resources that you might not normally find if you're just searching some and pretty broadly. They can get lost in the mix a little bit. So this will allow you to focus a little bit more on what Homegrown has, and then also those local publishers. I will tell you, it's pretty easy to get to. I've got the instructions here and I'm going to show you how to do it. But like we talked about previously, if you at any point are just like, this is a lot, we are here for you and we want to help you. So you can make an appointment with us. You can drop by the library. You can email us or give us a call. We're always happy to help you. So in order to find the Homegrown ebook collection, you will go to the library's website, and then you'll select the databases tab, and we'll select the A to Z listing. We're going to use the alphabetical order because it's a little easier to find. And then we'll select the letter H, and then we'll scroll down to Homegrown eBooks. So walk you through that process now. So here is the link for the library's website. If you want to follow along, you totally can. You'll see the library's website here. There is Summon and the blue box with lots of different options. And there's our chat one more time with the librarians on the other side. So we will go to databases, and we're going to go to the A to Z listing. You'll see a huge drop-down menu, and we're going to select the letter H because it is alphabetical. We're looking for Homegrown ebooks, and we'll click the letter H, and it'll drop us down. And then we'll have the Homegrown eBooks collection right here. And it will tell you a little bit more about the variety of North Carolina publishers, and then also well-known North Carolina authors. And you can find a lot of really great material here, including fiction and poetry, but you will probably find it very helpful for your research as well, because there is a lot of unique information here. So it does take a minute to load. I will tell you, if you are interested, we'll also drop this in the chat as well really quick. This is just a link to the Apple Store. You can do the same thing with Google Play, but you can go on to your phone and you can go to Biblioboard Library, and basically it's an app. You can download it, and it'll ask you for, I believe it's going to be your location, or it's going to ask you which library you're associated with. And essentially what we're looking at right here, you will be given access to, because it is based on your region, so it knows that you're part of NC Live. But if you have any trouble with that, you're like, I love this app, I would love to have this on my phone, but I don't really know where to start, by all means, we would love to help you. So you can see right here, there's collections. They already kind of have things set up for you. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the nonfiction, because that may be a little bit more relevant for you in your research. But you can see here, they're going to curate some materials for you. Let's look at folklore and supernatural. And when you click on that, they're going to have the ebooks that they can pull that would fall under these topics. And then you can kind of see like aliens in the backyard. That's very exciting. And then you're going to have like the Bigfoot filmography, Before Salem, witch hunting in Connecticut, River Valley, 1647, 1663. Yeah, so what you'll notice is that this is like very specific. And this may be something where you're like, wow, I've not seen this type of information before. So this is going to give you sort of that taste of the local information, but also local writers, local publishers. And you can see here there's lots to choose from. So you can always explore the folklore collection in this way. And you can see the highlights here, resources that they have kind of pulled out specifically. And then you can also look at the books. Now, if you're wanting to explore in a different way, you can go back home to the home page of the homegrown ebooks. And you can just search right up here. It's in the top right-hand corner. And you can start typing. It could be a keyword. Is anybody working on something that they want to share? We could try searching for something. You can see if there's anything in here. Okay, procrastination. Let's see. So there's 0 items for that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's nothing that we can't find anything. We can just maybe think about it a little differently. Maybe we're thinking about, oh, ghost dogs. Oh, that would be really neat. So that's searching for a very specific title. So now, Ghost Dogs of the South. We can click on that and we can kind of see more about the book itself. That tells you the publication date. It tells you the publisher, tells you a little bit about the book itself. So this would be really good to look at if you are saying, yeah, I found a book, I think it's great, but your assignment says it has to be within the last 5 years. Lets you kind of know, okay, maybe this isn't the book for me. But it doesn't mean that you can't find something. So let's go back to the search, and instead of just searching for a keyword, let's do the advanced search. And just like in Summon, where you can kind of play with the different facets, you can do the same thing here. So we're going to keep the full text clicked. That way you can see everything you want to see. We are going to see if we can, let's try education. And then we could look for, you know, place of publication, module, license type, publication year. So let's see if we can limit it a little bit. Let's do recent. And then it's going to search. You can see right here, 2000 to 2025. And, you know, depending on what you're allowed for your assignment, you can check or uncheck what you need to. Or if it's easier, you can just click on, okay, I got to have 2025, 2024, 2023. That's all I want to see. I'm going to apply that. And then I'm going to just do English because I unfortunately cannot read in any other language. If you can, you are awesome. And I hope that you are able to find a book that you enjoy. So now it helps us, okay, we got 257 items. Now we can look through here. And this will allow us to kind of think about, is there anything here that we see that might be helpful as we continue to do our research? So again, you know, if you have something that you can't quite find, maybe you're like, I really am looking for this topic, but I'm not seeing anything. There's a possibility that maybe we're just not searching with the right keyword, or maybe it's something that's in the chapter and we need to look a little bit more deeply into the book. And so that's going to be something that we can then investigate. And so this just gives you, again, the overview of that book. You can share it, and then you can take that link right there and then send it to yourself. If you're like me and you have to have a backup plan to your backup plan, you can also search this title in Summon. And then once you search it in Summon, you can send yourself the link from that point. So let's try that really quick just to kind of show you. So I'm going to go to the library's homepage. All right. I'm going to search for that particular book. And as it's coming up, I can say, okay, right here, there's that book. We've got, you know, they've pulled out the book chapters here, but I can take that link right there and send it to myself. So it really allows me a chance to kind of get access to that information again. All right. I'm going to now stop sharing my screen. I'm going to let Allison take over.
Hello, let me start to share. Okay. Share. Everybody can see that? Yes, okay, great. And let's see. Slide. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about Dogwood Digital. Dogwood Digital is an online platform available through our NC Community College libraries that gives students, faculty, and staff free access to thousands of digital resources like ebooks, magazines, and audiobooks. And it's powered through the Libby app, just like your public library. Does anybody use the Libby app at all yet? You can put that in chat. Great. That's fantastic. You can just add another library and you can look for the community college and then you'll sign in with your portal sign-on. The collection is large and diverse and it has materials that are both academic and leisure reading. We actually purchase academic books, ebooks to add to the collection, and it features a user-friendly tools such as bookmarking, adjustable text size, and cross-device syncing. By logging in with your college credentials, users can easily explore Dogwood Digital's growing collection anytime, anywhere. So to get to the Dogwood Digital, you're going to go to our website. And you know we're on the main college website under support and success. We're a library right here in case you need to find us in the future. And we're going to go to the databases. Again, just like homegrown. And you'll see the A to Z listing again. And because there are several hundred, there's at least 150 databases, you're going to probably want a shortcut. We'll just click on D to shortcut to the Ds, and then you'll see Dogwood Digital right here. If you're on your phone, again, you can do this the same way, or you can download the Libby app. And once you're on Dogwood Digital, you'll see that you have lots of different choices here. You can look at what's just been added, what's popular, what's random, what's available. You can scroll down and see some guides that have been created by librarians that curate things based on a subject. You can see what's available now because sometimes some of the most popular books would be checked out. And if you need a book for school and you're at home or you're on the run or don't have the internet, you have to get the internet to get the book in the first place, but after you've already downloaded it, you'll be able to read these books. You can find at least 90 titles about careers, studying, and testing. How to be well and live life. There's a very substantial Spanish language collection. And we also have purchased, in addition to the regular Dogwood Digital books, we have an extensive comics and graphic novels section, and we also have an extensive magazine collection. So to access this, you walk through, let's see, you can open it with the Dogwood Digital Library. I want to show you an example search so you can see what to do. You just click on the search box at the bottom, and I'll type in a subject after my heart, which is Star Wars, just to show you how broadly you can find things. You'll see that there are 157 books. There are 14 magazines available, including the Star Wars Insider. And there are 13 audiobooks that you can also get. And there are a lot of graphic novels, as you can see here. So Dogwood Digital offers a very broad selection. It's not just books. Like I said, it's also the graphic novels, which you can see some are for leisure reading and some could be used for your college courses. The magazines are not just leisure reading, but also can be applied to some of your some of the things you're learning in class, including New Scientist, Popular Mechanics. Really, with 5,000 magazines, it's almost every magazine you can think of. So if you want to read People and you don't want to shell out $3 a week, you can find it here for free. There's also a broad selection of books, fiction as well as nonfiction, and the new books as well. And of course, there's audiobooks. If you prefer, you can get the audiobook downloaded and listen to it while you are commuting to school or to work. And beyond the collection itself, Dogwood Digital allows you to bookmark pages, so don't forget about that. You can highlight important sections and even adjust the text size to fit your device. So whether you're working on a project, studying for class, or just want something fun to read or listen to, Dogwood Digital has you covered without the frustration of paywalls or driving to your local library. You can get it right there on your phone. Does anybody have any questions about Dogwood Digital? Okay, I'll move on to Adfontes Media Bias Chart. Adfontes is an organization that focuses on media literacy, helping people figure out what news sources are reliable and which ones are biased. They're best known for their media bias chart, and this chart rates hundreds of news outlets based on two things: how reliable the reporting is and whether the source leans left or right or stays more neutral. And this helps you make sense of where information is coming from and how much you can trust it. This could be really important in your classwork if you need reliable sources. Instead of assuming something is true just because you read it online, you can use the Adfontes Media Bias Chart to check how trustworthy and biased your source really is. So here's how you get to the Adfontes Media Bias Chart. Again, we're going to go to the library's front page. Again, databases. And the A to Z listing. And because it starts with an A, we're just going to scroll down. The Adfontes Interactive Media Bias Chart is right here. When you click on it, it takes a little bit to load because it's going to be processing and showing you where hundreds of different articles are sitting in the space. And it's easy to get caught up in today's media world because headlines are designed to grab your attention, clickbait and all that. And social media algorithms, they push stories at you that might be sensationalized or biased or follow your own biases. You know, Google wants to give you what you want to read, so it'll push things to you continually that it knows you like and kind of ignore the other side. Adfontes helps cut through that noise. It teaches you how to spot bias and make sure that you're working with a balanced and reliable information. This Adfontes Media Bias Chart is a visual tool that helps readers evaluate reliability and political leaning of the news sources. On the chart, media outlets are arranged along the X and Y axis. The vertical axis shows reliability, from the least reliable at the bottom to the most reliable at the top. And the horizontal axis shows political bias from far left on the left side to far right on the right side. They keep it simple. By locating a news source on the chart, you can quickly see whether it tends to present information in a balanced, evidence-based way, which would be the middle, or whether it leans heavily left or right on the political spectrum. You definitely want things in this upper middle, left or right, maybe a little bit within this box is probably pretty safe for your classwork. To use the chart effectively, start by identifying where a particular source falls. Outlets near the middle and toward the top are, like I said, more reliable, making them good choices for academic work and balanced research and forming well-rounded opinions. Sources on the far left or the far right may still provide useful perspectives, but should be read with an awareness of their bias. Those closer to the bottom should be approached with caution, as they often rely on opinion, commentary, or unreliable reporting. Using the chart in addition to your own critical thinking skills, such as checking for evidence, corroborating information across multiple sources, and noting differences in coverage, can help you become a more informed and discerning news consumer. And Adfontes makes it easy to search this media bias chart. You can see on the side, you can type in a specific source if you're looking for one. For instance, let's look at Wall Street Journal. You can see, you can click on that and see where a lot of different Wall Street Journal articles fall. It'll take just a second to load. You see that they are mostly reliable. They're mostly in the middle, but they do have a little bit of a leaning to the right. We can contrast that with another popular news media organization like is it going to let me type New York Times? We can click on that. You'll see that they're mostly in the middle, but a little bit more left. So you can compare an interesting exercise would be to compare a New York Times article to a Wall Street Journal article. And another way you can search is you can click on or unclick whether you want to see websites, which is the majority of these. TV and video, you could turn that off and just look at podcasts. I like Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. It's a long form interview. He was higher up in the reliability that I expected and a little bit left, but still quite near the center. So there are different ways that you can search Ad Fontes. So does anybody have any questions about Ad Fontes Media? Okay, I'm going to turn it now back over to Morgan, who will wrap us up.
Allison, if you would go to the next slide.
Okay.
This is really just to let y'all know that we are happy to help you. Here's our email addresses, as well as the QR code and the link if you want to set up an appointment. This is a great question, Allison. And so Katie asked, can you search different topics at the same time for side-by-side comparison?
I don't know if you can do that. Let me see if I can go back. More options. There's probably a way to do it. But you might have to look at one at a time on this chart. As far as I know, I've never done a side-by-side. But you could open a second window and have a second window to compare the two if you wanted to.
Are there any other questions anybody can think of about anything that we talked about today? Any questions about Summon or about homegrown ebooks or Dogwood Digital or Ad Fontes? Anything at all that you can think of that you'd like to know more information about? I'm gonna give everybody about 2 minutes to keep typing if you're typing. Oh, Elaine has a great question. With Ad Fontes, can you search Sirius XM stations?
I've not tried that. Can you give me an example of one? Let me see if I can type in Sirius. Who is one of their POTUS? Let me type in Sirius. That's not coming up. Who is their shock jock? What's his name again? If they were a podcast, I'm sure that you could search for them. I don't see an option here for radio stations. I think Sirius XM qualifies as a radio station. It does say audio, though. If you knew a title, I could look it up.
Angie has a great question here. Yes, we actually are going to save this recording, and I'm going to get it kind of all organized, and everybody that registered for the event is going to get an email with the slides, with a video recording of the things that we covered, and then some great links so that you can either make an appointment with us or email us based on whatever it is you feel most comfortable with. So, yay, I know it is great, isn't it? So fun. Okay, so is there anything else? Oh, yes. Is there an option to request certain topics be added throughout the website? What if what you're looking for isn't on there? Oh, that's a great question. Katie, can you tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that? When you say topics added to the website, is that a reference to the library's website or something else? And feel free, if anybody has any questions, you can continue to add them. You can continue to let us know if you have anything. If your instructor said that you would get extra credit for attending, I know a lot of folks are interested in that. I'm gonna go ahead and put the Google form in the chat. Be sure to fill that out. If you have any questions, by all means, you can always email us, but that form right there is going to be how you kind of indicate that you were here. Oh, okay. If you were to look up the topic on Adfontes and it's not present there, is there a way to send a request to Adfontes to have the topic added to the chart? That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to it.
They are always adding things. I'm sure that if you got the question to us, we could have it sent forwarded to them. They are always adding new websites and links.
Yeah, I mean, there's always more media out there, so I imagine they will add them more and more. So that's great. What a great idea. Hey Lily, I see your question here about going over the beginning topics. We have the recording, and we'll be happy to share that recording so you'll be able to get the full picture of everything that we talked about today. Now, oh yeah, absolutely, thank you. So again, everybody, I dropped the link into the chat there. So if you, for whatever reason, are getting extra credit for this or you're attending for a purpose, be sure to fill that form out. Yeah, thank you, Angie. And yes, yeah, I'm glad that you don't have any questions. Oh, we're glad we covered everything for you. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stop the recording. If anybody has any questions, yes, absolutely. It was a lot of information. So let's go ahead and stop the recording. And if you